All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of the Bigger Than Food podcast. My name is Apollo Woods. I am your host today. And I know I tell y'all this every week that I'm excited to talk about my guests, but I'm especially excited to have this conversation because y'all know I like to cook. People confuse me and call me a chef, which I'm honored, but that's not the title that I have. I'm just a small town boy from the country that loves to cook. And if you can see my pantry, you can see how many seasonings that I have. I have a lot. And I've kind of got a little spoiled because I have so many seasonings. Now there's only particular seasonings that I use, period. So I almost feel like I kind of have to give some of these seasonings away. But today, my special guest today has created a brand of seasonings that I promise you, I put it on everything. And just so y'all don't see that I'm exaggerating, so so she knows, I'm gonna show her. I found a new top because I broke my other top because I use it so much. So this is Mack's Healthy Seasoning. Now this is the Belizean Belize Caribbean spice. It says spice, but it's not the spice. So this is the one that's unopened, and this is the one that my last two left. I don't know if y'all can see inside of there. Yeah, your boy really uses this stuff. So let me stop talking and rambling because I'm excited to have this conversation with a black woman-owned spice company, Miss Vanessa Mack from let me get it right because I'm too excited. Mack's Healthy Seasonings. Y'all, come on. We're going to have a fun conversation today. Welcome to the Bigger Than Food podcast, Vanessa.
Thank you for having me, Apollo. It's really great to be here to share my story because the seasonings and the story behind it is bigger than actually the company itself.
So you kind of gave me a little plug there. So would you say this is bigger than seasonings?
It is because
there we go. Okay, I had to go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so people have some context because I get this question all the time. They're like, Apollo, well, you're in Oklahoma City. You're doing a lot of interviews from folks outside of the state, which, that's one of the reasons for the podcast is to bring attention to amazing Black talent across the country. And I came across your seasonings from Jeremy from Black People Eats. We follow each other on Instagram and support each other. And so I was just in this place of like, I needed to find some good seasonings, but also some seasonings that I could enjoy and use because I'm monitoring my blood pressure and I was really health conscious. Found yours. I think I ordered probably like 2 boxes or something like that.
And I have to go back and look at your orders. You are committed. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm definitely committed to it. So that's how we got connected, been following and supporting Love the Flavors. So for people who don't know you, and maybe there's some people who are watching that are familiar with you, tell us about you first, and then let's talk about this amazing seasoning that you have.
Well, I am Vanessa Mack, as you all know, and I am the owner and creator behind Mack's Healthy Seasonings. I'm a nutrition coach and a wellness coach as well as with a trainer. Left my corporate job to be an entrepreneur full-time October of last year. Mack's Healthy Seasonings is actually a seasoning brand that is focusing on chronic issues that can occur in the body, meaning acts as an anti-inflammatory, maintaining blood levels. So if there's any high blood pressure or cholesterol issues, we've created and blended spices that has huge medicinal properties in it to create the flavor and not being so salt dependent to create flavors. So that's what allows me to stand apart from a lot of the other spices that is out there on the store shelves. The story is based on me losing 3 sisters to diabetes. They chose not to type 2 diabetes. And it was really created from a broken heart. And I had to go back and give my own some self-therapy and losing loved ones. And many other women in my family are suffering from high blood pressure, diabetes, and they just choose not to change. So in order for me to cope and deal with my loss, I said, I'm going to create something that's going to be educational and very informative to people to understand the purpose behind how we're seasoning our foods. It's the small steps that makes a difference, not the large steps. It's not going to the gym and say, I'm going to work out for 6 days a week to get myself back in shape and to make myself healthier. No, it's the small things in terms of how are you seasoning your meats? How are you seasoning your vegetables? Are you salt dependent? Are you able to manage your blood levels through the seasonings that you're using? And if you're not, there's times where you might need to see a nutritionist or a dietitian to start to do things differently. But Max Healthy Seasonings is a foot soldier for the brand. I go out, I do demos in the stores, I talk to customers in the store about the brand. And I've gained a lot of respect with our stores that we're located in throughout the Chicagoland area because it's a brand that's willing to educate. I'm not just dropping off seasonings and filling the store shelves without staying an extra 30 minutes to tell people about my brand.
Right. That's amazing that you created something that was inspired, by your family and unfortunately, maybe fortunately, from a loss that you experienced. But because this is Caribbean spice. You have Belize. You're from Belize, right?
Yes, I'm from
Okay.
Belize.
So I visited Belize in 2000. I think it was 2014. Flew into Belize and went to Placencia. I was there 9 days. Did not want to leave. It was beautiful. I loved it, and I definitely plan on coming back. But talk to us about your upbringing, your home, about Belize, and how your background, your family life, and all that just went into you thinking about, well, how can I create a product that it's good for people, but it also infuses, your culture, your heritage, and your upbringing.
Yeah, so most Caribbean countries has amazing flavors and foods, right? So when you're growing up, you're eating very organically. You're eating more family time in the kitchen to create amazing meals and seasonings. And I watched my aunt and my mom and my cousins douse, 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 douse. But was it really a big deal then because everything was so organic? My mother is 93 years old and she lives here in Chicago and she still eats the way she ate while she was in Belize. And she does not suffer from any dementia, Alzheimer's. She only takes high blood pressure pills. And at 93 years old, her hearing is starting to lose in one ear. But I do contribute that to how I watched her cook in Belize. In a lot of these Caribbean countries, it's a poor country. So you have to really fend for yourself and make sure you're eating those ground foods. When that starts to be in your body and it just never leaves your body, believe it or not. As young as you may be, you think, okay, now I'm eating fried chicken, now I'm eating this now. But your body is so organic that those foods that we were eating in the Caribbean, the fresh fish and the kuno and just a lot of different things that we created in meals is stuck with us. The body is always going to have a theme for how we grew up and how we're eating. And my mother's a perfect example of that, of being 93 years old, getting around. She just stopped driving because of her food intake.
That is amazing to be 93 and she sounds like she's really alert. But as a person who's been to Belize, beautiful, beautiful. I'll tell you when I first landed in the airport, and this is when Southwest Airlines just opened the gate in Belize. So I was living in Houston, hopped on a flight, 2 hours direct. I got to the airport and I felt like I was in New Orleans. I didn't know what to expect because I was like, I think I'm hearing people speak French, but I think at the same time, like it's something different. I'm like, what? The language is different. And then I was like, man, like it felt like I was in a huge cultural melting pot of people. And I was just amazed, and the food was amazing too. So I've been there, but describe what Belize is to you. Like, what is it like? Because when you said organic foods, now when you travel, you can grab, whether it's out of your backyard or the things that are growing just indigenous to the area. But talk about Belize. Like, what is it like living and growing up in Belize?
So Belize is a country that never loses its culture. It's never going to be commercialized like other Caribbean countries, which I won't name, but because there's so much to do on the various different keys, you're not landing in one large area such as a Cancun or something. It's like you were saying, you went into Placencia, right? When you go to the different, it keeps the culture of Belize and it's not commercialized. So the second language in Belize is Spanish, primary to English. Belize is such a warm, welcoming environment that the culture, you just absorb it when you come in because of how the people are engaging with those that travel to the country. Belize is a culture that, so for example, eating organic foods, it's nothing to get on the boat, go out to the ocean that you can stand in miles and miles away, go down there, take that sword and stab your lobster, and that's your dinner for the night. That's the culture, the everyday culture of Belize. You send someone out on the boat, you go in that water, you use that sword, that steak, and you just get them, and then you come back to land, and that's your food. And
It's
fresh.
amazing you said that because I think it was probably the third day I was there. And so still I'm glad I stayed in Placencia. It was beautiful being there. So I walked into the town and there was the fish market. And so they brought, so I think that at the time it was like a 2-to-1 exchange. So I didn't know. So I gave him $20 and I didn't think none of it. I mean, he caught a fresh lobster, grilled it. It tastes so amazing.
Fresh.
And you're right. I mean, the people were super nice. So a quick funny story. I got to tell you this. So I was on the beach and I have no idea why I don't know what I was thinking. So they were actually repairing like the bridge walk like out into the ocean. So I wasn't paying much attention. I was out there working out on the beach. And so there was this tree trunk. It was on the beach. I wasn't thinking to check because it wasn't there yesterday that it wasn't stable to use. So I decided that I was going to try to jump on this log to jump on it, jump off. Well, it was at the end of my workout. I jumped on the log and it was like my foot probably barely even touched it. Fell off the log. It was probably the longest descent from the air and the beach was wet. Hit my head.
Oh no.
But catch this. I had about 30 minutes to get to, I did a snorkel excursion. I had 30 minutes to get there. Had a headache, but I had never had a concussion before. So I didn't realize I had a concussion until we actually got to the small island to do the snorkel activity. And it wasn't until I was actually in the water where I realized I had a concussion. But I had a great time in the water. It was like warm on one side and it was like cold on the other side. I could see so much life. I really enjoyed that. It was such an amazing experience there. So I love to hear you talk about Belize. So at what point did your family move from Belize to the United States or Chicago?
In the 50s.
Okay.
In the 50s. And everyone, when you go to other cultures, everyone doesn't go to the United States all at once. So some are left behind. They build a family environment and then send for more. So my family, everyone was not here at the same time. Some of us migrated to California, Arizona, various places throughout the United States, primarily Illinois. And coming to the U.S. was, of course, a big culture shock because at that time, you can actually say that you had more organic foods. Mm-hmm. But I would never forget that we would think that, okay, you're in the United States, you still don't have to send things back home. We were still sending stuff from America in barrels and barrels and barrels back to Belize for family that were left behind because it was easier for us to get flour and sugar and potatoes here to send it back. So someone would go back and travel, and I literally mean big barrels. That's when the airline rules were not as strict. Large barrels of food and clothing, still taking it. Even though these countries are very beautiful, they're suffering. The money, the income is not there. Belize is a big cabinetry environment or a big wood environment. So you have a lot of workers that are, in the wood industry, making cabinets and tables and bowls. And it's the most beautiful wood in Belize. It's from the terracotta tree. And that tree is only in Belize and it can't be migrated out of that country.
Mm. That's awesome. So when you came to the States at what age?
15.
15. So you were 15. And when did the spirit of entrepreneurship start?
Oh gosh, that was 2 years ago. I've always had it in me. So,
Okay.
I always had it in me too, because I was a corporate girl.
Okay.
Corporate girl for many, many years. But always had that spirit of, I'm gonna sell some candy on the side, or I'm gonna make some plates and sell that stuff on the side because I know I can cook very well. So I was always a hustler outside of my day-to-day environment. And when it came down to seeing and witnessing all the health issues in my family is when I said, you know what, I could do something with this. This can go beyond and much bigger than what I'm thinking, but I know that it was a spirit that was within me to do something different because I had to handle my own depression through those losses. Because they're leaving grandchildren behind that I take care of now.
Mhm.
These women died very young. They chose not to deal with depression and didn't want to change their lives. And type 2 diabetes is something that you can't control if you put your mind to it. So that was my opportunity. You know how sometimes God take you through all these challenges to do things independently as a, and then you finally get to that point where you're like, this is it. That's why I went through all those other processes that may have failed to get to this point. And this is how Max Healthy Seasonings is created.
So you said every person I've talked on the podcast has talked about different moments in their life that led up to what they are doing, right?
Mhm.
So that's why I'm asking you more questions about, who you are versus what you do, because those experiences are what have created this brand that you have now through Seasonings. So you started becoming a full-time entrepreneur essentially during COVID.
October 2022 is we're in 20, yeah, 22 is when I finally left the corporate environment.
So you are approaching a 1-year anniversary.
2 years. So we launched 21, May 21.
Yeah, but you went full time in.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes,
So you went
absolutely.
full time in 2022. Okay.
Yes.
So, but you started in 21, basically during COVID, went full time in 2022. So were you like creating seasonings before it officially became Max, or like how did that idea of, I know you mentioned your family experience, but when did you start creating and mixing together seasonings together? When did that process
So
start?
being a nutrition coach, you have to study various foods. And when I learned about a lot of the medicinal properties and spices, it took me a very long time to start creating blends to make it flavorful and taste good. Again, not being salt dependent. And I would say I've always been, I pat myself on the back, just like you, Apollo, an amazing cook. You know, I grew up with matriarchs who were just amazing cooks. But what I had to do for myself, and again, when you're dealing with loss, you deal with your depression in different ways. For me, that's cooking. Cooking is my therapy. I'll be in the kitchen and I have to have music on when I know that I really want to throw down. And it gives me that spirit to just create amazing meals. And that's what I do. That's how the seasonings are created. I have to kind of be in a zone. And once I studied spices and talked to some friends from India,
Mhm.
they helped me to understand what different spices does. So for example, Max Healthy Seasonings all-purpose blend focuses as an anti-inflammatory because of the high potency of turmeric in it, but we also have other blends of seasonings like rosemary, thyme, garlic in there, and pairing that turmeric with black pepper to make sure we're pulling the medicinal properties out of the turmeric to help to fight inflammation. So that creativity in specific blends has purpose. Going back to how was it created? Honestly, through depression.
Mhm. And it's interesting that when
Honestly,
you talk
how can
about,
we change?
yeah. And so when you talked about the seasonings, like you talked to different people, and that's the beautiful part about food and spices. You are going to be introduced to spices and blends from other culture, the people, but how they all work together. And it's really science. It's how you've taken flavors, use science. What I personally love about using Max Healthy Seasons is sometimes like sometimes you got a little heavy handed with seasoning. And there was a time where a few times where maybe the cap came off because I had cracked it. I dropped it a few times, and it was a lot of seasonings on my fish or my vegetables. But it didn't. But it wasn't like I had to start over or add something to it because of the flavors. And so when you said, so I'm just reading the back of the label. So I'm gonna read the back of the label for those who are listening, because this is why I like it, y'all. And I seriously, I really use these seasonings. So you have, in terms of the health benefits, it's vegan, it's dairy free, zero added sugar, low sodium, zero carbs. So the average person who reads this in their mind, they're probably going to think it's not going to taste good.
Exactly. Exactly.
But why does it taste good?
Because we're using the flavors and spices that doesn't have salt in it. Rosemary does not have salt, but it has flavor. Turmeric doesn't have salt, but it has flavor. Garlic doesn't have salt, but it has flavor. We have to understand how we're blending those actual spices together to create the flavor. And that's where the hard work and the research comes in. I will never put a product out on the market that there isn't proven results and research behind it. I deal and I've partnered with a company called Nutrition Data in California who helped me with that research. Nothing will go on the Max Healthy Seasonings brand without making sure that I can educate the public about our seasonings and how we are blending our seasonings so your food can taste great.
I love the consciousness of that, but I'm also curious. So when you started putting these seasons together, you got a name, you probably gone through some different iterations of the logos and all that kind of stuff. But before that, when you introduced this seasoning sample or you were sampling out to people, what are some of those in the early stages? What are some of those initial responses that you got from people that helped you craft it? Or what was some of that like, you know what? I really like this, like the early responses from people. What were they saying?
So I was providing samples and I was driving my car and putting them in mailboxes. Try this. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. So a part of that is when you do that, you can't be dropping it off to people who don't cook.
That's true. And folks that don't know how to cook.
If they've just been seasoning with salt and pepper all their lives, that was a failure. So that was a learned lesson. The other side of that is some people said it was a little bitter. Spices that are, I would have to try this spice on this particular blend. So for example, the all-purpose is really good on your vegetables, your pastas, and your softer textured meat. So your poultry. Okay, to bring out that flavor, but I can't say that that's going to taste really, really great on a thick pork chop. So when I did the study and trying to cook different things to see what brings out the best flavor, now I can tell the public or take the opinions and the reviews of those who tried it out as samples and say, oh, I like this better on so-and-so. I like this better on beef. I like this better. The Belize Caribbean spice is really designed to be a seafood spice, but people are getting creative and they're putting all three seasonings. And Apollo, that might sound like you. All three of the spices on one meal.
I did that. I do that often. I do that often.
And you're never over seasoning. It's not too salty. And you're creating such an amazing flavor and blend that just, when I'm blending in our commercial kitchen, the incubator kitchen, we have the whole kitchen just in awe. Yeah. Because we're not salt dependent. And people have to know and understand that spices has flavor.
It does. And I read this book called Salts, Fats, and Sugars years ago. And in the book, they talk about how fast food chains use salts, fats, and sugars. And it's based on like these chemical responses that your brain will get. So you go through certain drive-through lines and you get those fries, and some are cut a certain way or extra salty. And usually in the dollar menu concept, it's done in a way to get you to come back in an hour. You think it's cheap, but you come back because your body releases a chemical saying it needs more. So it creates this addiction to salts, fats, and sugars. And for me, I got high blood pressure when I was the healthiest I had been in my life. And I didn't understand why. Some of it was family history and stress load in the job that I was working at the time. But what I really like about Max is I don't feel guilty about how I use it. And so I want to play around with it. And I can tell my body, it's like one thing, like your body's satisfied, but I don't feel dehydrated, if that makes sense. Like, because salt makes you feel like your tongue is dry. I don't ever feel that, and I end up wanting more because I feel more hydrated eating the food with your seasonings.
That is because your body is absorbing the true medicinal properties in the spices. Mm. That is why, again, if you're taking garlic and using garlic for what its purpose is, your body is not going to dehydrate. Mm. If you're taking rosemary, you're taking thyme, if you're taking any specific annatto or any specific spice that those are just a few of what we use in our blend, you're getting the actual properties. When we have salty products, it dilutes the actual health factors of what is in the product. We're not salt dependent. We use pink Himalayan salt. We don't use chemical salt such as iodized salt. But the percentage of the Himalayan salt is so small that you have that opportunity to make your food taste good by getting the good spice.
No, yeah, and having a nutritionist myself and understanding what the labels are. In undergrad, my major was sport administration with a minor in health, so I began to start taking more interest in that. So when you started using this, so your experience in creating seasonings that taste good and are good for you, what have you seen some of the responses from your clients or even let's start with your family. Clients are one thing. Let's start with your family. So you were inspired by things that happened in your family.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you have this, what changes have you seen from your family with you having these amazing seasons?
The response
is responding to you now.
My response is going to be funny. My family barely use it. You know why? You know why? They don't want to hear about me talking about health and wellness. They're not ready yet.
Okay.
And being from the Caribbean, they use the salt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, taste the salt in this at all. So that is it. That is why.
I was waiting on you to do that. I was like I need her to talk like she's at home. I'm waiting on that to come out.
But it's like, I don't taste no salt.
But I think that's the hard part. As an example, like, in my own family, the same thing happened when I was exploring different things. And just because they were used to seeing a certain brand of salt, Morton's or Lowry's. If you didn't have that, then they weren't using it. But I also noticed something started to click, especially my immediate family of, there's no, like, it actually tastes good still, right? Mm-hmm. So how do you start with, in cultural foods and things, how we create foods? How would you suggest to someone that is going down the journey of changing their habits, and when they're in an environment that's not receptive to changing their nutritional behaviors, how would you suggest they start to go about?
It really is the independent factor. What is affecting you. You have to take accountability for your wellness. Regardless of the environment that you are in, if you want to change, and sometimes, it's bigger than what I'm saying, perhaps. People may not be able to afford to eat healthy, and, they're going to eat what's at home. And that whole myth where, you have to eat everything on your plate, it has become detrimental to our culture.
Yeah.
Because everything on our plate wasn't the best. So you have to, with clients that I deal with, it's always starting out as a therapy session. But it's also education in terms of saying, what I always start out with is, what's your purpose? Mm-hmm. And if your purpose is to be different, and I'm the perfect example, my purpose is to be different from how I was raised through food. My purpose is to be different because of losing loved ones to chronic illness that can be controlled. When I share my story, it opens up something different and put on the light bulb to clients, because I can only share my story in order for you to see a difference in the direction that you can go with your health. When I do demos in the stores, it's just not, I'm cooking in the stores. I have a little skillet and I'm giving you samples and I'm educating. And then I hear the stories, my mom died of this, or my sister is suffering from that. Right. And that's where we start. It's not a one-on-one all the time. I can have 4 and 5 people at a table doing a demo in the grocery stores. Mm-hmm. And because I do that, and because I connect to the customer, I connect with the public on a free consultation about food and how they can change, it becomes more interesting to them. So then I'll hear from them later, thanking me, appreciating me, or want to continue to be a client or want to be a client, and just have conversation. We are organically made. We have to understand that we are organically made, and how we are created. We have to make sure that we appreciate that by, unfortunately, foods and alcohol.
Yep. I want to kind of change gears a little bit and talk about some of your, just pick your brain a little bit on the business side of things.
Oh
So
yeah.
when you said that, you took some seasoning samples and you went and put them in folks' mailboxes. That is a very radical way of cold calling
Yes.
and getting information to them. Um, I'm trying to get into your thought process in the way that an entrepreneur thinks. What made you say, I need to get this into their mailbox in their hands? I'm going to choose putting it in their mailbox. Now, I want to disclaim anyone who's watching this. I'm not advocating for you to put things in people's mailboxes because that may not be the safest thing to do, but it really is the thought process you were thinking like, I'm going to try something that might seem radical, very different, but I want to get this into the hands of people. And when you put them in the mailbox, how were you able to get feedback from them once you put those samples in their mailboxes?
Well, I'll clarify they were not random mailboxes because I have a huge health and wellness network and community.
Okay.
People knew that I would be doing that.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
So you
So
got permission from them.
I got permission, yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then that expanded. Well, can my sister try it? Can my uncle try it? So I got feedback from them based on, like I mentioned earlier, on what to use it on, what it tastes best on, telling people and giving suggestions on what would best work for them. And they'll tell me, I like turned into a doctor at that point.
Okay.
I got inflammation in my toenail, that kind of thing.
I got the gout.
Exactly. So only thing I could tell them and give them the information on what specific spice would help, like you said, gout or something of that nature. But from the business side, that's where it started. Then I bottled it, sent it for research, got my reports, did everything I needed to do because at that point I believed in my product.
Right. So you built the community.
I built the community. I already had a community as well.
Right. So you had a community that you built. You use the benefits of having a community that you've invested in, and you built up this following of trust in a community, whether it was clients or friends or people or neighbors. Yes. You built a community, and from building that community gave you the opportunity to have a sample set to give you feedback on your product.
Yes.
So then my question becomes, so once you built your community and use that community to get a sample set, and then you wanted to bottle it and move forward, what were some key signs that you needed to see from that feedback that made you say, I think I officially have a product that could be profitable, a brand that I could build?
Of course, like you said, feedback, but primarily people asking for more. You have anything bigger than this little sample you're giving me? Well, I'm bottling it. It has to go in for research because just because I put something in the bottle does not mean that it'll pass the nutrition test. So that edge for me was believing in what I created. And if you don't believe in what you're doing and have full faith in what you're doing and finding a need in the community, especially minority communities, which is what I did, chronic issues are plaguing minority communities. I stood on that. And that's how I created this brand based on, people liking it, people asking for more, and people not being able to wait for me to get it out in the market and on the shelf. So we did start out as an online business only. And once we launched, I couldn't keep up. I could not keep up because people at that point, that community was all in. And that took some time. That wasn't overnight.
Yeah.
This was like a 4-month span of giving out samples.
Yeah. So you have this, you go from, you do that, you go online, you're getting a huge response. So as a person who wants to start their business off, because I personally believe that if you want to see how successful your product or service will be, especially if you have a product that start off online, it gives you a chance to maybe build up some capital, you can get some data, get some feedback in the digital space in that way. And once you realize I have something that people want based on this feedback, but I need to find vendors and suppliers, right? Because some people, you get to the process of like, oh, I want to design t-shirts. I just need t-shirts and a screen print and that's it. But you need suppliers. So in the case of as a spice company or spice blend company, how did you go about finding the right vendors to use so that way you can fulfill these orders that are coming in?
Internet searches. So I'm the hands-on person. I'm the blender. I'm the packer. I'm the labeler. I've hired people to do labels on 500 bottles for me.
Yeah.
So I'm that person. I am the distributor at this point in time.
Okay.
But at the very beginning of all of that, I was internet searching. I was asking questions. I was going into stores that carry spices who they can recommend to me. Use your community stores and businesses as your resources. They have it for you. Go to your politicians, go to those that are serving in your communities to get information to help build your business. That was huge for me because someone knows somebody. Someone knows who's the owner of that store who deals with suppliers all the time.
Yeah.
Don't be there and think that you have to figure this all out by yourself. You have to utilize your community to help you build your brand.
I didn't think about that until you said it. Just something just rang to me that I think oftentimes corner stores are overlooked as a resource. But when you just saying that made me think a lot of people come in and out the store, whatever their buying intentions are, but you get a lot of traffic in and out of that corner store. They do know a lot of the people that are coming in and out. Even the customers coming in know who's there.
They know their suppliers. They know a bunch of suppliers who can help you. And that's what happened with me. The very first store was a health food store that we went in on the shelf. The amount of resources that they gave me has been amazing. It has been amazing to help me build my brand, but they were committed to my brand too. I'm in the stores as a businesswoman and I'm building relationships with the staff. So they are selling the product for me when I'm not there.
And I can imagine that you go into the typical corner store, you're not going to find something like this that is great for you. You'll see your typical garlic, salt and peppers if they do have a small selection. I have so many people that ask me about getting into these big stores, and you just bring this idea off of my head of why don't you start with the corner store, the store that's on the corner that gets a lot of traffic in the community that you want to serve or like you live and serve, and start there. That is a brilliant.
It's funny. I have a mentor who's a CEO in the food industry, and she told me, "Don't concern yourself with the big box stores. Go the community and the smaller co-op stores is where you need to be, because your product can stand alone in a store such as the co-op stores."
Do you feel like that was the game changer for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The relationships that I built where I have customers, because I live in a pretty large suburban community and white blue collar environment, they will call me. So-and-so store is out of so-and-so. I get calls, I get inboxes, I have built such a trusting network in my brand that I get calls to find out what stores are out of something in my community.
Wow. And this is from you, this is based from the corner store.
Yep.
Not the big box store. Okay. Let me ask you this. So, it's said that when you go into the big box stores, there's a lot of loopholes and you got to change your pricing, you got to change your brand and maybe even your ingredients. Yes. When you've gone to those corner stores, are they giving you these stipulations on what you need to change to be in there? Or are they saying typically, hey, you have something that I like. Yes, let's put it on the store. How receptive are they?
You need to be in a local store that supports the community entrepreneurship businesses and small businesses. Those are the ones that help you build your brand in the community. Now I can be a little bit aggressive, like, hey, you're gonna put me on a shelf, or you're gonna put me by the registers this week. I'm that person. But I also do the work to bring more customers, because they're not just gonna go into that store and buy Max Healthy Seasonings. They're gonna go and buy maybe some shea butter or something like that. It's not gonna just be that one item when they leave the store. And I remind them of that. So they do not ask your community stores are the best place to be. I have to be honest with you. I've had such an amazing experience with our community stores, our corner stores, our health food stores in our community, that you have to build that trust that you're going to help bring people to their brand. just as much as I have to have trust in them that they're going to have customers to purchase my brand. So yes, they do post me next to the registers often. I can call and say, hey, can we offer 10% off on my product for the month of so-and-so? And then we offer it. I get 2 shelf spaces. I get the aisle of the seasonings and I'm by the registers now, because now it's 10% off. What do? I go on social media and say, Sunrise Health Food Stores now has Max Healthy Seasonings at 15% off. And it swarms. I don't know if you saw a post on our page the other day, but I took a picture of our empty shelf of our spices.
Yeah.
So I'm
You
doing
created a
work.
demand. I mean, you literally are creating demand, which is the same thing that bigger brands do against other bigger brands. You know, they're fighting for space because people, well, the consumer will often say, so and so store has this. I go to this store because they have this. So you essentially did the same thing, took the same model as
Yes.
a smaller business or a smaller brand and said, I'm gonna do what they're doing. But it almost sounds like that you are in the convenience store, in the smaller, let's say the neighborhood store, that your brand is almost just as competitive as that bigger known brand that might be on the shelf too. Like
Well,
you're
the
moving
difference
because that
is,
person that owns the store, they can decide what they want to move. So if they want to put you on the end cap or on the register, they can, because you're bringing people to their store.
and the personal touch that's involved.
I
I'm
like
in the
that.
stores and I'm checking the shelves on a weekly basis, but I'm just not checking the shelves. I'm stopping a customer who's in the seasoning aisle and say, hey, have you tried this before? You should check this out. And I may not even say that I'm the owner. I'm talking to the employees. So when the stores that I'm in, most of them don't have Lawry's on the shelf because I'm in most health food stores in the communities. Uh, I've gotten to the point where I operate as if I'm a huge brand, where I can call and say, put this on sale this week. So I can build the audience for the store.
Okay, so neighborhood store, you're making these demands because they know that people are coming in. So what is the neighborhood store owner or the manager saying? Well, let's say from once you started that relationship to now, when they're like, man, this product is actually coming off the shelf. What feedback are they giving you that may almost seem like they're pressuring you to do more than what you might be ready for? Are they giving you that type of feedback?
So not technically a lot of pressure. So when I put my store, this one particular store brand, they have 5 stores in the community, and they're large, and they've been around for well over 40 years. And I said, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to be your number 1 spice seller in the store. And as of last month, I am their number 1 spice seller in the store.
Come on now.
Because I'm visible. Because I'm visible. I believe in a product that is good for people, but that customer service touch from a supplier to store owners, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
And I do hear the stories about companies dropping off product. They don't go and put it on the shelves themselves. So when my purchase orders start to increase, I know that we're doing really, really well.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And okay, I got so many questions and I got to narrow them down because I won't be able to get them in while we're talking. Okay, so some advice, right? So I'm listening, I'm an entrepreneur, I have passion, I got this idea that I believe in. And let's say, because there aren't many black-owned seasoning brands that are local, that are in stores,
Of
right?
course.
In Oklahoma that I can think of, well, specifically Oklahoma City. Now I know people who create them. So, based on your experience and wisdom, what would be the first thing that you would tell them to do as someone who actually has a product with seasonings, or just a product in general? Let's say product in general.
Right.
What would you recommend the first thing that they do?
I'm going to be honest with you. You have to have your authentic self present. People see through that. You have to have great customer service. And how are you going, not to the store's customers, but to the store owners? You have to be dedicated in what you're doing and how you believe. You can't be gone on vacation for 2 weeks and not check those shelves before you go. You have to have a support system in the stores. I have a support system in the stores where they are selling my product for me because I am face to face. I am there. Don't lose who you are because you're trying to hurry up and get it sold and, be popular with your brand. It takes so much hard work. The hardest part of being an entrepreneur and having a product is making sure that you maintain your authentic self. If you do not, everything will fall apart. People will not respect you. So the store owners will not respect you. I had one store owner, a different store in our community, it's a produce market, said they have someone else, minority company, that is a seasoning brand that they carry on the shelf. They didn't tell me who it was. And they said they drop it off and I don't see them for months. So that's why I don't go back and fill out a PO. That they've limited the owner of their business, that business have limited their opportunities in the store. And they complimented me for just coming in, checking the shelves once every other week, but staying there and having conversations.
Yeah, relationships are definitely important, and especially in entrepreneurship. When I decided to leave corporate America in 2019, I mean, who could have anticipated that COVID would be just around the corner? I mean, even for you, I mean, you went full time. You started in 21. You went full time in 22. Relationships are the thing that can kind of carry you through when you are probably just trying to picking things up. So I was fortunate to be able to build some great relationships with some classmates. Whether I was on boards or nonprofit boards or commissions, because those people, they know more about you. They believe you. They have a sense of support they want to give you because they want to see you successful. So as an entrepreneur, how has the relationships that you have built helped you with either with some mentorship you may have needed or open doors for business opportunities you may not otherwise have gotten on your own?
Oh my gosh. First of all, leaving corporate America has given me a lot of opportunities in my business. And I don't know if you remember, but Max Healthy Seasonings was the Level Up 2003 winner with BOA Bank last month. So that exposed me to so much mentorship and understanding how to put take my brand to the next level. I wouldn't be able to have and share the conversation that I'm sharing with you if I didn't become a sponge and absorb the information that was being shared with me. Part of this also is I have it in me too. So you can't say I'm going to create shoes and I'm bringing out a style of shoe or design shoes and it's something that's not in you, but not because you see someone else doing it. Education, education, education is the key. Relationship building is the key. Mentorship is the key. You're never going to know it all. You got to go to conferences. You got to go in Investment Fest, which was in Atlanta recently. You have to put yourself in a space and wear your product on your chest to gain knowledge and attention for your product, but it has to be in you. I have days I want to give up, days that I'm tired. I'm like, okay, this is not happening this week, but I have to remember what I built and the purpose behind it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then expand on that a little bit more. So because knowing that everything, if it's going to happen, it's all on you, and you don't have the ability to say, "Well, I'm going to just call my manager or my boss and tell them I'm not coming in today, or I'm taking some vacation time off." What do you do to push through in those days where you are tired and you need a break or you want a break?
Let me tell you, I do back-to-back festivals often. I go to conferences often to tell about my brand. And there are days that I am so exhausted. I have to get up and go to the gym and do at least an hour and a half workout, but I don't stop thinking about the brand. So what can I do while I'm on the treadmill from my phone in pertaining to the brand? How can I check stock? It's things that you always have to put yourself in that space, but also create an environment where you can escape and release toxins out of your body and put endorphins back in. And for me, that's exercising.
That's awesome. Okay, so we got a few minutes left here, and kind of want to go back to talking about the seasonings themselves. You have something that you use. It is doing very well. If you were to create a meal right? And authentic something. Don't tell me like, grilled pork chops and
Right.
music. No, like describe to me a meal that you would make if you were at home. It says with your family, Belizean influence, like what you would normally eat, that you love to cook with your seasonings. Like what is that? Because I kind of want my mouth to water a little bit.
Escabeche, which is
What's
a
that?
whole escabeche. It's
Okay.
a Belizean dish, and it's a whole fish, red snapper, with rice, tomato, onion, green peppers infused with a lot of oils and seasonings and coconut cream. Oh God, that Belize Caribbean spice. Which now you have my mouth watering now that I'm thinking about it. So that's an amazing dish, and I'll probably do a video on that one so you
Okay.
can see that. In Belize, we call it the 1-2 tree. That is rice and beans, potato salad, and stewed chicken.
Interesting, because I would have. I don't think I haven't. I have never. Not that I can think of. I don't think about potato salad being something that people from the Caribbean
Oh
make.
yeah, yeah. Belize is big on potato salad. It's a part of our 1-2-3. That's a every Sunday dish.
Potato
Rice,
salad.
rice
Okay.
and beans, potato salad, and stewed chicken.
Stewed chicken. Okay. All right. All right. I like it. I like it. I like it. Okay.
So it's always we're gonna have some 1-2 tree today.
1, 2, 3. Oh, look, if I say it the way you said it, it's gonna be terrible. So I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it to myself. All right. So other than the meal, what are some common drinks or juices that are common?
You're
Like,
taking me there, huh?
yeah, I want to know. I'm trying to look. It's been a while since I've been to Belize, so I'm trying to relive this moment right now.
It's a lot of typical drinks, and we do the coconut cream milk and mix it with different things. It's not a big drink kind of thing. Rum is always good in
No, no, no.
Belize.
Not did I have to be like an alcoholic drink, like
Oh, okay.
whatever, like juice combination or something like this is what we drink, tea or whatever it is.
Yeah, tea
Here's
goes
what
with
that is.
everything in Belize. Black tea.
Black tea.
Hot black tea is very popular in Belize. Coconut cream milk
What's that?
mixed with coconut cream milk mixed with some mango. Well, you know coconut cream, right?
Yeah.
So you
Uh-huh.
have coconut milk. You put a
Yeah.
little bit of coconut cream, thicken it up with some mango, diced up in it, mix it up to give you the fruity flavor with the coconuts, the coconut
Okay.
taste.
I have coconut cream. I have some coconut milk. I just need some mangoes.
Yeah, and some mangoes and the cream. You're not going to use a lot of cream. You don't want it
Okay.
too thick.
Okay.
The milk is, just a consistency where it's tolerable. And put a little bit of nutmeg or cinnamon in that, and it's very good.
Oh, okay. I like it. I'm
But
gonna try.
we're typical, soda.
Yeah.
Very.
So okay. So then thinking about the future as we get ready to wrap up the podcast, what's next? Like, where are you? What are you excited about in the future for Max Healthy Seasoning?
Do you know my thought process has always been, okay, what's the next blend I'm going to create? What my mentor told me is, how are the 3 blends doing that you have now? I said, it's great. How long has it been out? 2 years. So why are you worried about the next blend right now? So when I think about the future, it's about Max Healthy Seasonings being a household name, like many of the others, but being primarily used because of the benefit factors that's in it. So that's me still going out and hanging out in those streets telling people about the product. Building volume in the stores, trying to get into different states with our product in their health food stores. That's not easy. Yeah, we can try Whole Foods and we can try Trader Joe's. Those are the big boys that we can try. But again, I'm about relationship building. And I do believe, and I dreamt this, that the big boys are going to come looking for me soon or eventually. So I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing because what I'm doing right now is paying off.
Because sometimes you feel that pressure of you have to think about the next thing, like something else.
Yeah.
In the last almost 2 months of just within my business, just really realizing that I don't have to stay on the hamster wheel and think about creating something next when I can enjoy what I've created. I can build upon what I have instead of distracting people who follow me and support me onto the next thing, so then they'll forget the core thing. So I like that you said that, and what I'm really excited to share with some friends, and I hope that people are watching, that how you've used relationships with the neighborhood community store, because really I can imagine how often they are overlooked and they're only sought as the last minute option, or
Mhm.
it's the poor people's store, or for gas if they do stop and get gas, but not as an amazing resource to put your seasonings or your other type of products in that store that is likely going to have. And I thought about this just now. Usually your neighborhood store, when other stores are closed on holidays or other days,
Mhm.
your neighborhood store is usually open.
Yes, it is. And that's how you have to look at building a brand in an environment.
Mm.
How are they catering? That's their motto. They want to be available when the bigger stores are not. Because 9 out of 10, these smaller stores are family owned and they are making themselves available. But yes, they have more longevity than the big box stores. I can tell you, Walmart has closed in our community recently, but those smaller stores are not being touched. And there's 40, 50 plus years in our communities. In my mind, that's where I want to be.
I think that is a very smart approach to take, because I mean, if you've proven that you've been in, 30, 40 neighborhood stores and people know your name, and the people that live in the community work wherever they work or go wherever they
Mhm.
go, it's like my mom. My mom always seems to find the candies that I don't never think about. I'm like, where'd she find it for? She find it at a corner store. She find it at a certain store. And I'm like, I would have never
Yeah.
found it because the places I would normally go don't carry it. But she found this candy or this whatever it is. My mom's she's a creative shopper. But you
And
just
also, I'm
yeah.
sorry,
No,
going
go
into
ahead. Go
the
ahead.
mindset that your community stores may cost a little bit more because you have more entrepreneur minority businesses in their stores on the shelves.
Mhm.
So sometimes it may be more. But again, when you have the Walmarts closing in your community,
Mhm.
when you have the big boys closing the stores in the community for whatever reasons, support your local community, support your stores because they are going to be there for the longevity. As a customer, or if you're an entrepreneur, business owner, and your product is in the store, you have to support them. I put my stores on my social media page all the time. That's opportunity for them and it's opportunity for me.
I love it. I love it. Vanessa, I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you and learning more. You don't likely realize the gem that you shared. I talk about all the time of supporting local business and black owned business, but I hadn't given much thought to how that I've been excluding the neighborhood store.
Mhm.
And now I'm thinking about the black owned neighborhood stores that carry different things. It's a market that's not being tapped into, and they
Right.
need support as well. So I thank you for sharing that. I learned something. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing this podcast, is because I get a chance to learn what other people are doing in other cities.
Mhm.
Of course, to bring exposure to amazing black talent, and also talking about the great products that you have. And I'm glad you went into showing your Belizean accent. I feel like you're holding back a little bit as we've been talking, but I definitely enjoyed it. I love what you're doing. I can definitely see that Max Healthy Seasonings will be a household brand and name that people will use because it has a bigger purpose.
Mhm.
Um, I love it. You'll definitely get another order from me because I'm in like a bottle and a quarter left here. So I thank you for tuning in and taking some time away. I know you have a lot of things you could be doing,
No,
and
thank you.
I'll let you get your time back. And so if someone wants to support you, if they want to find you and order Max Healthy Seasonings, the 3-pack, or the
Yes.
1, 2, 3 pack.
One,
How
two,
can they
three.
1, 2, 3 pack? How do they do that?
You can Google us, Max Healthy Seasonings, or you can go to v-mac.com, mhealthyseasonings.com. 3 different ways to get you to our page. We have an all-purpose blend that focuses on inflammation. We have our garlic and black pepper blend that focuses on your blood levels and cholesterol. Our Belize Caribbean spice is for your heart health, your digestion, and helps to relieve joint pain. Those are the medicinal properties in the spices that are being used in those bottles. Check us out. You won't regret it. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you, OKC Black Eats and Bigger Than Food and Apollo Woods for everything that you are doing. You got 3 names.
I got a few more too.
Right. Exactly.
I loved it. That's
Thank
a lot
you for
for
the
being
opportunity.
a
I
serial
really
entrepreneur.
appreciate it. A great conversation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And so, y'all, I need y'all to make sure that you support Vanessa Mack and Mack's Healthy Seasonings. So make sure you go online. I put the link down in the caption down below and also in the chat, v-mac.com/shop, and support them. Try them out. Buy them as a gift for friends. Black Friday is coming up. It's around the corner. As you're preparing for the holiday season, tailgating football season, it's a great time to buy and support this Black-owned business. Does amazing seasonings with the bigger purpose. So I thank y'all for joining us for episode 11 of the Bigger Than Food podcast with Vanessa Mack from Mack's Healthy Seasonings. And like we always say, our mission is bigger than food, and be intentional with how you support Black-owned businesses no matter where they are.
Thank you very much.